Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to my friend. He is one of the best wrestlers of, the Arkansas State scene, basically carrying Little Rock on his back. He's the one and only Cash Jones. Cash, what's going on?
Nothing much. The honor's all mine, brother. Happy to be here.
Me too. And even before we got, on the air, Blake over here said, "What's up, Cash?" So shout out to Blake.
My man. What's up, Blake? How you doing?
I mean, literally, before we even went live, we saw comments coming through. So shout out to you, Blake, for being the first. And then also, for those who don't know, this is completely live. So if you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you put your question in. We're going to answer it live on air. So there we go. Just saying.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
My goodness. So again, not to kind of geek out, right? But we're kind of talking off air, and this is kind of why I was like, I saw you on, shout out to Ryan Mossberg and Mossberg's Boxing. Love that guy, friend of the show. But when he shared a picture of you, and then I went to your profile because he tagged you in the photo, and I was like, whoa, a wrestler with an optimal striking coach? This could be amazing, right? So I was just like, that's the archetype of, you talk to any MMA aficionado and what have you. It's a wrestler, and then we can teach him submissions. We can teach him how to strike or her to strike, or, and that's the archetype. And you have that. So I want to know, how did you get into wrestling, so early on in your life?
Well, it all started with karate. I started doing karate when I was 5 years old. And I did that for a little while and discovered submission grappling from there. And the thing I didn't like about karate when I was younger is just the culture is a little different, and it's a little less based on actual fighting and more based on the point system and everything. So just being able to practice a move and then be able to do it full bore on somebody without having to hold back, and no referee stopping it after a punch and everything. It was just the right fit for me. And from there, got into wrestling and just got all in. It was just love at first sight, and did it from the time I was 9 years old up until I was 20, and enjoyed every minute of it.
Wow, that's amazing. And again, you training with Ryan Mossberg isn't your first foray into striking. That was actually your kind of foundation that you built in, and then you went to wrestling after. I think that's fun because, there's a transition that happens where, if you're a striker and then you try to learn grappling, it's rough, right? And then vice versa, if you're and you kind of were able to kind of sample both things at an early age that gave you a pretty formidable, foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I possess all this karate skill or whatnot. I was real young, but I think the advantage that karate did give me is kind of what you see with all these kids doing gymnastics now, is when you're real young and you're growing so much, you don't have that much control over your body. You don't know how to move your body, and I think that was probably the biggest advantage that karate gave me, is just the control, the agility, the flexibility, and it was a great place to start for a young kid. So I definitely, if you're a young kid and you have a young kid and you're wanting to get them into athletics or martial arts or whatever, karate or gymnastics is the way to go. That's what you should be getting them into right off the bat.
I like it. I'm trying to get my 13-year-old in. I'm just saying. But in their own time. Joseph Osborne says, "What up, Cash?"
My man, how you doing, Joseph?
Yes. And Matt Baker, I love this name because this is actually the name. He shares the same name, literally exactly, of my first jiu-jitsu coach, Matt Baker, in Bakersfield, California. But Matt Baker says, do you have any fears regarding your future in MMA?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of nervous that I might actually kill somebody in there. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but you know, I'm gonna go out there and put it on the line. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And the best way to see is to follow Cash on all of his social medias to see what exactly he's doing, right? So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Ryan Graves says, Cash,
Yes,
Cash.
sir. All my boys at Diamond State Martial Arts. I love you guys. How you guys doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad you guys are here.
Shout out to you guys. And Joseph says, yeah, putting the welterweight uh, class on notice.
Yes, sir. Best kept secret, I think. I'm ready to debut. I'm so ready.
Yes, absolutely. And Bobby Chan saying, Cash, it's so sick to see you here. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. And then he says that Matt Baker guy, so my name. I have Matt and his wife Jill Baker are legit black belts under the great John Jacques Machado. It's very rare where you have two black belts, husband and wife, with the lineage like that. So just saying.
Yeah, that's super cool.
We'll flip a coin. We'll flip a coin and see who has it better. Right? DJ Yannick's over on Twitch. Love DJ Yannick. Says, good evening from the UK. According to Woods, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Over in the UK. And Nate Wren of Podium Sports says, I was so happy when you guys beat CSUB.
I wasn't there for that. So
Okay.
congratulations to UA Little Rock for beating Cal State Bakersfield.
Yep.
That's super cool, but that was a little past my time. So
There you go. And Joseph says, and I love this, right? Love you, bro. That's it. And who's your support system? We're seeing it in the comments. Your support system is pretty svelte.
I am very blessed. A lot of people believe in me. I'm really in a great position. I got to say, number one is definitely my mom. She's been there since day one, literally, and even before that. So everything that I picked up, my personality, whatever makes me cool, it's all my mom. And so I know she's watching. So thank you. I love you. Just keep being you.
I love that. I'm going to Mario Yamasaki that. I'm not going to say, fight forever like Mario Yamasaki, but I'm definitely going to do the hard shit out, right?
Thanks. We got to avoid those late stoppages.
Yeah. Facts. Now, obviously, right? So karate, and obviously you said like the culture, right? And it's I too have. I'm not sure about your scenario, but I remember like when I started doing karate, and they're like, "Oh," and you learn all sorts of cool stuff, cool shit, and then they're like, "Oh, you can't use it," or you go into wrong dojo, and it's like, "I'll show you a trick that no one knows. Hey, you put your finger behind somebody's ear, and they'll fly 300 feet." And as a kid, that sounds cool. And then you try that at your bully at school, and he pounds you into the pavement, or maybe she, in my case, I get beat up by a girl. It happens. Equality. But yeah, and you realize, hey, some of this shit doesn't work.
Yeah, I can remember I had such a vivid memory. I was probably about 7 or 8, and the instructor was talking about technique and how you want to have crisp technique and everything. And of course you do. But then he said, if I wanted to watch, a street fight or a brawl, guys who don't know what they're doing, I would just turn on the UFC. And that really, that sat wrong with me. Even at 8 years old, I stopped and I thought, like, wait a minute, those are the best fighters in the world, in the UFC. That's the cream of the crop. Those are the best guys, it just really sat with me the wrong way. And I think that's honestly a big catalyst on why I ended up transitioning into other things.
Well, that makes sense. And there was a particular, in my instance, where like I remember going into this gentleman's dojo. It's not there anymore, right? Wouldn't you know who won the pony, right? But not there anymore. But going to his dojo, and I'm trying to learn self-defense and what have you. And he has pictures of him in like the early days of the UFC, right? The big, the
Mhm.
really, really big octagon of the early 90s and what have you. Gray tarps everywhere, you know, with the little foam noodles all around the cage and everything like that. And
Mhm.
you know, it was like, oh, you know, like listen to me because I fought in the UFC and what have you, right? And then you get to it, and then this is no disparagement, right? And especially to enter the UFC at that time where you could like that stuff that happened with Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards this past weekend.
Mhm.
Well, that was legal. I think that was like the only thing that you could or couldn't do. That right?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
fish
you
hook
see the
the
highlights of guys just getting their testicles completely pounded, like that Joe Son guy. Like,
yes.
oh my goodness, completely different. It was a completely different game.
Oh, that's
Goodness
a
gracious, those guys
that
were wild.
right. So I found out going into the school, and he's got like literally the whole dojo is littered with like big, like 8 by 14, you know, like foot, like you know, what was it, like 3 by like poster size, right, of him in
Mhm.
the UFC, right? Well, the UFC Fight Pass comes out, right? Like literally like 15, 20 years later, right? And I'm all like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to go see my sensei. Yeah, never fought in the UFC again after his first loss. And essentially, what happened was he had some cameraman basically take pictures of the walkout. And there's like 45 pictures of the walkout. And, you know, Bruce Buffer at the time, you know, whatever calling his name, and Bruce Buffer with like solid black hair, right? And
Yeah, young Bruce.
young Bruce,
Young
right?
Bruce.
Young Bruce. And that was it. Like that was his deal. But he plastered his literal 45-second walk to the cage and he immortalized it in 45 pictures. That's a picture a second for those trying to do the math.
I couldn't even imagine being in that position of the guys going to fight in those early days. They really had no idea what was going on. Like it's just no weight classes.
Mhm.
No one knew what they were doing. They were just going in there with the style that they had. I couldn't even imagine the type of adrenaline those guys were feeling, just the type of pressure they were feeling, just insane nerves, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you could wear wrestling shoes in the early UFC. Absolutely. One of my favorite mixed martial artists of all time, Dan the Beast Severn, UFC Hall of Famer, former NWA champion, and did so many things, NCAA champion and what have you. But it wasn't until later in his career that he even threw a punch. He's got, again, most people don't
Yeah,
even have fights in the triple digits. He's got wins in the triple digits, is Dan Severn.
and he fought, I think, almost into his 60s as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think he just retired like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, way too late. I could not imagine doing it that long. Over 100 fights, that's outrageous.
I'm just saying. I mean, taking fights like Muay Thai, you know, practitioners in Thailand, like a fight every weekend. Just let's
Hmm.
do this, you know? And DJ, yeah. Oh, wait, we got to get Auntie Bobby in here. Auntie Bobby says, very proud of you, Cash. We're proud of
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Bobby. That's amazing, right? And then, yeah, so Matt Baker wants to know, did you consider any offers on where to wrestle in college other than where you ended up?
So before I ended up at UA Little Rock, I wrestled with Campbell University, which is a small Division I school in North Carolina, and I wasn't there for very long, about a semester. And I was under Coach Kerry Colat, and Kerry Colat's a legend in the wrestling game, one of the greatest of all time. Should be a multiple-time world champion, but got shafted by some judges, and it is what it is. When you go over to foreign countries, you're going to run into that. But I was very blessed to be able to wrestle under him for a little bit. It ended up not being the place for me. So I transferred to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I stayed there for about a year before I left.
Nice. Right on.
Yes,
Right on.
sir.
I love it. I love it. DJ Yannick says, hope you're well this evening. Courtney Wood, sorry about it's actually late in the evening. My apologies. Good with words, bad with numbers. So there you go. Got carried away. Great to see Cash on your show. Big fan. He's got a name over here in mixed martial arts circles. So yes, you are big in the UK thanks to DJ Yannick's Cash. So
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that I'm international. That's super cool.
There you go. There you go. And Matt Baker wants to know any updates on your debut.
Well, I wish that I could give you guys more details right now, but I will tell you we've got something in the works for April, so you won't have to wait too much longer. We got something coming up, and I'm ready to go. If someone agrees to fight me tonight, I'll sign the contract and I'll show up. So whoever
Man,
wants it, come get it.
I love it. You got me Wanderlei Silvaing over here. Like, I'm ready.
I'm pumped up, man. I'm fired up right now.
I can tell you. I can tell you. I mean, I can absolutely tell. You know what I'm wondering on? That's right. I'm wondering what color are your socks, Mr. Jones? And if you're wearing what is your choice of socks today? And was it a difficult choice to make?
Well, right now I am barefoot. It's how I like to keep it in my own home, keep it natural. But I'm a white sock guy. I like to wear white socks. It's just clean, you know. You can always get more. Just a white sock guy. I like to keep it classy.
I like it. Keep it classy. Keep it classy. Yes. And then, whoa, holy smokes. Man, we've got comments all. Um, wow. So cool. We're getting so big that we're even getting like bots. So, yeah, man. Sweet.
That's how you know you're popping, dude. You get
Yeah.
you get the fake accounts.
Yeah, because it's like literally four of them of the same deal. So right on. And Jeremy Horn had 100+ fights as well. Yep. Shout out to
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Up there in the Iowa area, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Right. Absolutely. You know. And are you the same Cash Jones from Benton that won state 3 times in Arkansas?
Yes, sir. I'm Cash Jones out of Bentonville that won state 3 times. That's me.
Which is, again, a super honor to have you here. And then the international fame has gone to his head. Nah, never. Yes, and Sheila Jones. Shout out to Sheila Jones.
Yes, ma'am. That's my mom.
Yeah, I thought so. So shout out to you, Miss Sheila. Yes, Bentonville, and hell yes, he is. Damn right.
Hell yeah. Represent that 479 till I die.
Yes. Which Matt Baker wants to know your favorite high school memory.
Oh, I got to say, it was winning state my junior year. I was coming off of being injured the previous year, so I wasn't able to compete in the postseason, which it really stung. It was something that really weighed heavy on me, and going out there and winning that state title and going and giving Coach Rapp a big hug afterwards. It was a huge relief, and it was a great experience. You know, my crowd from Bentonville was doing their thing, going crazy, and it was an awesome experience, and it's something that I will never forget. Absolutely.
I love it. That's an incredible, indelible memory, and especially, you know, coming back from an injury. You know, there's things that you start to, you know, as an athlete, as a person, you start to second guess. Like, heck, if I bang my elbow too hard on the kitchen counter, I regret every decision in my life that led me to this point. Let alone, you know, kind of a wreck injury that can derail, you know, the momentum that you are on in your career, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you basically came from it, Lazarus out of the ashes, you know, and basically won.
Yeah, it was my first ever big injury that I've ever dealt with, and I was pretty young. I was about 15 or 16, so I maybe didn't have the necessary skills to cope with it in the most responsible way. But it's something that I'm glad I got out of the way, so I know what to expect next time. You know.
Yeah, no, 100%. And John Fulton says, shout out to you from your second cousin. Looking forward to seeing you fight. We all are. But shout out to
Absolutely. I'm excited to get in there. How you doing?
Absolutely. Champ CTV. What is that?
Oh, man, I don't know if I want to get into that on air, but that's an inside joke between me and my buddy Noah Wells. So, okay. Noah, I know you're watching. Hope you're doing well, man.
Hey, guess what? The CM in CM Punk could either be Chick Magnet, Chicago Made, or whatever. He's gone from independent circuit wrestling to the WWE to the UFC and commentating for CFFC, and just did it like at the ECW arena, which is weird. CM Punk doing MMA commentary at the ECW arena. It's weird, but it happened just this past weekend. But yeah, so sometimes mystery is good. We don't know what CM Punk stands for. We might not necessarily not have to know what CTD. We can make that inside.
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you guys later, but for now that'll remain a secret. So you mentioned Dan Severn being the NWA champ recently. You know, you
Yes.
bringing up CM Punk. I got to say myself that I am also a big pro wrestling nerd. So I guess I'm. Ooh, you got the strap. You brought the strap out. I love it, dude. Super cool.
And this might have the signatures of Roddy Piper,
Ooh,
Harley Race. Let's see, Raven, the franchise Shane Douglas, and superstar Billy Graham. That might be it.
super cool. That's awesome. I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, you know what? I live vicariously through badasses. I'm not a badass myself, but I'm like, and this, to me, the 10 pounds of gold is probably the one of the most beautiful, because that's my deal with titles, right? We were kind of talking about that weight cuts and some of it being kind of augmented and borrowed from a time gone by. Well, so to it, like wrestling, like any type, especially in combat sports, boxing titles, wrestling titles, MMA titles, they should look great, because the way that I see it is, if you are somebody that ends up becoming a champion of a particular promotion, a world champion, if you're lucky to call yourself and earn yourself the title. Well, even if people, let's say if you invited somebody over to the house, right, and they knew nothing of your occupation, right, but it's something that you have on your mantle, and the guest who knows none the wiser goes, "Oh, what's that? That looks cool. It looks beautiful." It's the centerpiece, right? It's the centerpiece of your division, of your promotion, and what have you, right? And the literal embodiment of a career and a lifetime sacrifice of, to call yourself champion. So if your title looks like a golden Dixie paper plate, I'm looking at you, UFC legacy title.
Yeah.
What is that? What are we doing?
See, I don't understand why they would go and change the design. They
It
had
used to be
such a
so
good thing
pretty.
going. They had such a good thing going for them, and then they had to go and make whatever they got now. It doesn't look as good. And
No.
I don't. I think almost everybody agrees with me too.
And then they did even worse. And they did the bad motherfucker title and whatever, and it looked even worse, because it
I know
just
they went and made it like gunmetal gray. I don't
gun
know.
gunmetal
I'm not
gray,
gonna
and
lie.
just
I would like to have it, but
who wouldn't
I,
be
I
a
definitely I think they could have done better myself.
I agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. Now Patsy Sanchez saying, "Shout out from Texas. We love you, Cash Jones. Love it." And oh, you're getting torn up. Couldn't clean up the hair a little bit, says Andy Baez. You know?
Listen here, Anthony. I got a haircut yesterday just for this occasion. So just be glad that we're not looking at the mop that I had about 24 hours ago.
10 points. Be thankful for what you got, is what he's saying. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Which, okay. And then uh, Cousin John says, "So what is the first fight you saw that made you think I could kick his ass?" Because that's where it starts.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Back in the Blockbuster days, so ancient
Yes.
times here,
Yeah.
I was probably about 3 or 4, and most kids, they want to watch cartoons and stuff. I was into the Smashing Machine documentary. That was my movie when I was a kid. The
Mark
HBO.
Kerr!
Yes, sir.
Get
Mark
that!
Kerr, the Smashing Machine. Shout out to him. An OG in the game.
Yes.
Hope he's doing well. But
Hope
yeah,
so,
so I think the seed was planted pretty young for me. My parents like to say that they didn't groom me to be a fighter, but I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to say that they didn't, because it's kind of just what I've been doing my whole life. So it's just a natural transition, just to go right into it. I can't say that there's any one specific fight though.
Yes. No, I like it. But I mean, the Smashing Machine, that's a good jumping point. Hicks and Gracie's choke. Those are some of the ones when I, was in my kind of formative years of, because there was just like in MMA, right? Like now you could go and train, like it's just automatically assumed, like you train striking, you train jiu-jitsu, you train your wrestling, you train your cardio and all that stuff. In a time previous to this, that was like sacrilege. You couldn't do that. You couldn't be a wrestling fan and also like MMA. You couldn't, it was very kind of compartmentalized, right? So it's
Mhm.
cool that we can rejoice in all these things, be fan of everything, and it's just like,
Absolutely.
and at a time it's the most accessible than it's ever been. Like we don't have to go to the Blockbuster. Fire up the dang YouTube.
Hmm.
There we go. UFC Fight Pass, WWE Network, New Japan World, Fight TV, all of these stuff. If you wanted to pay some coin, ESPN Plus, who'd have thunk we would have been here? But shit, we're here.
It's 100% the best time to be a fight fan, no doubt in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy you can go and look up knockout highlights, and you got 20 of the best knockouts from the past month just at the tip of your fingers. It's amazing. It just there's no excuse to not watch fights these days. It's just too easy.
Exactly. And I agree with you, Matthew Baker. I wish the UFC would go back to the older style belts. Absolutely. Hell, if you wanted to trade it up, it's not like you don't have the internet intellectual properties of the Strike Force or
Hmm.
Pride or awesome design belts, right? And borrow
Hmm.
from that. No, you had to go to Bixler, the jewelry maker, and whatever. And I get it because you wanted more coin. Once you're already Scrooge McDuckin, what's more money, right? So you did that.
Hmm.
But again, it looks like a dang. Again, you go to a cookout, a barbecue, those paper plates and everything like that. You go to your relative's house that doesn't want to, waste a good china on you, right? Those paper plates, and you dip it in gold. That's the new UFC Legacy title.
It just doesn't have the same feel. It's not a completely hideous belt. It just doesn't have the same feel
Hmm.
and the same aesthetic as the old belts. It doesn't have the same history to it. But what are you gonna do? I'm not in charge of making the belts. I'm not in charge of who gets them. So
Yeah, there you
you
go.
know
Which Nate Wren wants to know. Speaking of history, Cash Jones, who is your favorite professional wrestler?
that is a question that you will probably get a different answer to every day. But
Okay.
since I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring series
Yes.
yesterday, I watched the story of the Von Erichs. I got to give a shout out to Kerry Von Erich, my man.
The fucking
He's
claw.
too cool. He's too
Oh,
cool. Him and Ric Flair, probably the two coolest pro wrestlers in my opinion.
yeah, and I mean, literally, in honor of his brother David, who is groomed to be the NWA champion,
Hmm.
won the NWA championship from Ric Flair in a jam-packed, I mean, football stadium in
Hmm.
Texas, right?
Right after the death of his brother. Amazing
Yeah.
story. Amazing story.
But there's also a reason about the Von Erichs that they're the recipients of an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Kevin
it's
is
it's
the
not all roses.
no. Oh, I like what you did there because David Von
Yeah,
Erich,
you got it.
Yellow Texas,
Hey, what can I
got it.
say? I'm pretty clever.
Oh, you are. I love it. And then who is your favorite in the WWE? Or what is your favorite era in the WWE?
Well, I am gonna have to give you a pretty generic answer here. I'm gonna have to go the Attitude Era.
Okay.
It's just has a different feel than it just, especially the product now. I grew up, and I think the Ruthless Aggression Era is what they call it,
Yes.
which I think it was a pretty good era, but it's hard to beat. Stone Cold. There was so much talent in that day that
Mm.
And also they were having to compete with WCW, who was also talent packed, and
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's going to be a hard era to beat, in my opinion. It's going to be hard to top the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I like it. I was because of who was on top. My favorite era was the New Generation, right? Because you had
Hmm.
Brett and Owen, right? My
Hmm.
son, his name is Owen. That's how, I had a younger sister that would kind of like, get the favor of my parents and what have you, and would do swarmy things and what have you. So in my head, I was Brett. My sister was Owen and what have you. And even with like, talk about like legitimacy, right? That,
Hmm.
the Hearts, especially Brett and Owen, where if you had the dreaded F word argument with one of your friends, like, you watch it, it's fake. Why are you doing it, right? Well, guess what? You could point to the Hearts and go, but those guys, those are legit, right? And even as
Mhm.
cool as Brett was as a champion, he will tell you, even to this day, that Owen was the better one, right? He not only could he do the technical stuff that Brett could do, he could do the lucha stuff of Mexico, he could do the Japanese strong style, he could do it
Mhm.
all, right? And then every time that Brett and Owen marched to the ring, or anybody from Calgary, Alberta, Canada came to the ring. That included the British Bulldogs and Jim the Anvil Neidhart and whatever, right? Even though they weren't native of Calgary, they were that Calgary group. Well,
Mhm.
they told you about stories of Stu Hart, right? And Stu Hart in the dungeon, right? He was an old catch wrestler of the prairies of Canada, and he would in the dungeon, his basement would stretch the heck out of every athlete, football player, soccer player, weightlifter, bring them all. Stu stretched you out, and he could even barely walk himself. And even one time of the year, when they had the Calgary Stampede, kind of fair in Calgary, he choked out a wrestling bear. This is in the 60s. This is literally like, what, 20 some odd years before Habib was even born?
Yeah, yeah, at least.
Yes. So, like, for
Yeah,
me, I
different
was,
breed back then.
yeah. So, like, for me, I was just like, Superman, cool, bro. Like, Marvel Universe, all that, whatever. I want to do the thing and watch the thing where you can literally, a guy like me can go choke out a bear. That's it.
Yeah, that's way cooler than having superpowers. You can go and choke out an actual bear. Are you
Mhm.
kidding me? That's an apex predator, you know?
That is. Oh, is that a Randy Orton reference? That
It
was
wasn't, but it can be if you want it to be.
10 points. 10 points. And oh gosh. Uh, I literally just got into a car wreck watching this. Totally worth it. Not that we want you and advocate for getting into wrecks. You might pull over. There might be a Waffle House. There might even be a Cracker Barrel where you are. Pull into a parking lot there. Grab something to eat. Then you can watch this. There you go.
Don't condone texting and driving. So if you're watching this, just go ahead and pull over and enjoy yourself. You're going to be able to pay attention more anyways. So be
Kick back.
safe.
Yeah, be safe and everything. And there's also the archives, right? Where you can
Mhm.
watch this at your leisure, hopefully on a big screen. If you got one of those like
Yeah,
fancy Fire Sticks and smart TVs, you can literally pull it right up and you can watch it full in high definition and 4K and all that jazz. So I'm just saying.
absolutely. What a great time to live.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, so Yaz Beach, shout out to Yaz. What's up, Adam? I hope you're well. I hope you are well. Good brother. A talented interviewer in his own right is Yaz Beats. And nice to meet you, Cash. There you go.
Hey, nice to meet you too, man. Happy you're watching. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Matt Baker, he wants to know who you taking in the rematch, Masvidal or Usman?
Whew, that's a tough one. Personally, for the welterweight division, I'd like to see Jorge Masvidal win.
Right.
Um, just because I don't feel like Usman is able to bring enough attention and relevancy to the division. But Usman's a tough guy. He's going to be hard to beat. Real strong guy. He's got good striking. He's got a good jab, and he's got great wrestling. So it's hard to beat the foundations like that. But if anyone's going to do it, I hope it's Jorge Masvidal because I think he'd probably be the best champ for the division right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, you could market it as the unification of the BMF title
Mm-hmm.
as well as the welterweight title. Like, you could do things right, and um, the Rogan effect, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's usually how I gauge, a particular fighter in terms of their effect on the pop culture lexicon, as I call it. Not just fight fans, but just
Mm-hmm.
people, right? Just people. Once they go on
Right.
Rogan, you found out that people are talking, the week after, days after, or what have you. They were talking about, oh, did you hear? Like the Josh Barnett episode, the couple times that he's been on Rogan. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh. And like, yes, he's a fighter, but like, he's so intellectual and what have you, right? So, like, the Rogan effect. Usman didn't have that where Masvidal did. We were
Mm-hmm.
clipping up, pieces and sharing it with your friends and putting it on Twitter and all that, whatever, when Masvidal was on. Not so much Usman with the same amount of time. So I'm all like, okay, that's a start.
Yeah. The people are going to react to who they want to react to, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately for Kamara, I don't think he's figured out his niche yet. I don't think he's figured out what he brings to the table other than his fighting.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, right? Because we live in an era with all of the stuff that kind of is perpetrated on us, so in terms of media, content creation and everything like that. You actually have to do that. Do you think that Tank Abbott? I don't even think Tank Abbott today still has a Twitter or an Instagram.
I'm not sure if that guy has a phone.
Yeah, 100%. He's still doing the flip phone. I mean, and but that's the thing, right? It's a whole new era, and look no further than Curtis Blades, right? Curtis Blades, when I'm sure you can appreciate this, especially being a wrestling fan. After DC knocks out Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, right? And Brock Lesnar comes in and just pushes him. Curtis Blades was somebody who was just like, oh, what about my title shot? Because they were talking about DC and Brock, right? For the title. If Brock can pass USADA, which skeptical hippo eyes, right? And he was kind of lollygagged, like, I'm a straight martial artist. And I think that night, Dana was just like, you're a straight martial artist? Cool story, bro. Good luck with that, because you might be teaching judo classes at your local strip mall to kids, but that's not what we want in a star, right? Yeah, Stipe Miocic, incredible human being. He never quit his job as a firefighter. I mean, he absolutely could, but it's just like that call to service. So shout out to Stipe Miocic. But the fact that it's hard to understand him, right? I don't know if that's, a kind of regional accent slang deal, or if it's the beginnings of CTE, and I hope not, right? But whatever that is, he cannot connect to a watching audience. And here's where it's a problem. And this is something that's borrowed over from boxing, where literally you can judge the excitement of a particular organization, a particular fight, on how many people are talking about the heavyweight division. Have you heard about anybody talk about the heavyweight division or the champion in the last year and a half?
Not so much. It's heavyweight's division's kind of been struggling. Not to say that there's not a lot of talent in there, because there's guys like Francis Ngannou who are just absolute monsters that completely capture the imagination. But for the most part, just the heavyweight way of fighting doesn't lend itself well to moving seats.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So you've got Mike Tyson, right, in boxing, right? And then we're a week, removed from Derek Lewis on Rogan, right? And again, this is a guy, probably one of the baddest hombres that walking this side of the earth, and he doesn't even care. That might be your star. Nothing against Francis Ngannou, nothing against Stipe, whatever. That is the star of the heavyweight division, and he's not even concerned of winning the title. That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah. I think that's just kind of where the business is moving. I think people are realizing that the money isn't necessarily in the title fights anymore. It's about selling yourself, and it's about having the right fights. So I'm curious to see where that pushes MMA as a whole,
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. And the MMA superfan, shout out to the MMA superfan. Should MMA restructure the weight classes to include the 165-pound division? As a wrestler yourself, that's been the weight cuts. What's your take?
Well, I'm not completely opposed to a 165-pound division, but I also am hesitant to go and add all these new weight classes, because you see it in boxing where they have weight classes like every 2.5 pounds, and it in my opinion delegitimizes the championship belt. So I don't know. I do think that there should be some restructuring done. I think there's definitely way too big a gap in between some of those weight classes, but I would be hesitant to just go and add a whole bunch of weight classes in the middle,
I see what you're saying, and I love it. But we also live in a day where Poirier and Conor wasn't for a title, when again the champion of that division says he's retired, right? One, right? But it's weird, because even with Conor, right, when he had the double championships, right, when he defended one, he had to give up the other, right, at the time that he made his walk. But those concessions aren't made for Amanda Nunes or who was the other one? Like Amanda Nunes. There was somebody else that did it too.
DC was a double champ.
DC, yeah, DC. But DC also had, got stripped,
Mhm.
when he went to heavyweight and whatever, he had to let go of the 205 belt and John Jones won it back, whatever. So it's weird when you go to like the lineages and everything. And I think MMA on Point on YouTube, they do a class by class, like what is the
Mhm.
lineal champion in every weight division in the UFC, and it's a wild labyrinth. It's all over the place, right? And then we're living in a world where, again, Dustin Poirier and Connor weren't for the title, one, and then two, Aljamain Sterling is the champ on a DQ.
Yeah, it's it's hard to. I don't know. I just
Yeah,
it is what it is. I'm just curious to see where it goes because this is really only the start of the money fight era, in my opinion. Conor McGregor came in and changed the game, and I think it's probably gonna continue pushing in that direction, and titles are gonna hold less and less weight.
I agree. I agree. Matt Baker says Cash Jones will be on Rogan. That's the deal. Like not to say I'm the linear stepping stone to Rogan, but like I'm a
Mhm.
fan of Rogan. I'm not mad at this comment at all. Like I want every one of my guests to be on Rogan, and I'm glad that they're here first, But
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a good testing ground. Now Nate Wren wants to know.
Okay.
Okay, the question for the both of you: what was your favorite WWE moments?
I'm gonna have to go ahead and let you go first on this one because I gotta take a second to think
Okay,
because I have a lot.
so this is also my favorite WrestleMania, right? But we have WrestleMania 10, right? This is where concise storytelling across a WrestleMania happened. Now, obviously, you had it in, I think, whatever WrestleMania that they had at like Trump Tower or Trump Taj Mahal to crown the new like WWF champion that Andre
Hmm.
won and sold to Ted DiBiase and all that jazz, right? That was concise storytelling. But with WrestleMania 10 and go back, right? So you had, essentially Yokozuna as champion, right? Uh, Brett and Luger at that year's Royal Rumble, they both toppled over the rope and hit the floor at the same time. That is the
Hmm.
terms of condition of an elimination of the Royal Rumble, right? So they ran it back at WrestleMania, right? But Brett is also intertwined in a blood feud with his younger brother Owen, right? So they start off the match, and I'm not spoiling it. I mean, this happened in 94, 95, so I'm not spoiling it, but
Yeah,
definitely go back.
if you haven't seen it, go ahead and go watch it. It's
Go
been
watch
long
it.
enough. You don't have an excuse.
Absolutely. But so you have Brett and Owen, and still, for my money, the best opening match to a WrestleMania ever. Right? They have a barn burner. Owen ends up winning and saying, "I beat you, Brett." Da da da. Whatever, whatever. Right? And then you go kind of midway, and then you got Brett and Lex. For the true right to face the champion Yokozuna. Later on in the night. Right? And then Brett goes over Lex, right? So you've got
Mhm.
that. And then Brett, main event with Roddy Piper, basically the referee, and Brett beats again, a monster Yokozuna. The Rodney Anawahi, if you guys don't know, geez, like just brilliant in terms of his role. There's an awesome WWE Icons documentary on the network. The Anawahi family that spans the Usos and Roman Reigns and Rikishi, just incredible. And he topples that. And then at the end, right, everybody from the Steiners and every Randy Savage has Brett on their shoulders and like cheering Brett. And Owen comes from the aisleway, right? And it's just like, are we gonna get a reunion and everything like that? And he turns on his brother. He just like, and then goes back the other way, like knowing he could have beat Brett, right? And he did beat
Mhm.
Brett early in the night, and he could be champion. And you're suspending that disbelief again. Some of the best, and a lot of people don't like that new generation era because they had wrestling garbage man like Duke the Dumpster Josie
Yeah,
and the
the job
Goon.
gimmicks,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
professional gimmicks.
But that was my favorite era, and again, that was even post Hogan, right? That was the best
Mhm.
storytelling that company ever did, and they have yet to get there. They got close with Daniel Bryan, and they did that same
Mhm.
deal. From first to last, the story of Daniel Bryan when he won in New Orleans, and I think it was WrestleMania 30, but still. There you go.
Yeah, they can't. They don't write the same. They can't write the same type of storylines they used to. They use it just. It used to be very entertaining. It definitely used to be worth following, and I hope he gets back there someday.
Yeah, so what is yours, good sir?
Okay, well, I've been thinking about it this whole time, and I gotta say, it's in my opinion, what birthed the Attitude Era, excuse me, when Stone Cold beats Jake the Snake Roberts, who's in his whole preacher gimmick, sober Jake the Snake.
Yes.
When Stone Cold came in, completely beat the brakes off of him, comes out of the ring and cuts one of the best promos of all time in any sport, no matter what. I do not care. Austin 316 says, "I just kicked your ass." One of the greatest moments in sports entertainment history. If someone wants to argue with me and say that that was not a fantastic moment in professional wrestling, I'm willing to throw hands over. I'm willing to fight somebody over it. That was a fantastic moment. I get goosebumps watching the promo. Fantastic.
Now, again, I agree with you 100%. But do you know what today is?
Today's 316, isn't it?
316 day!
Stone Cold
Look
Steve
at you,
Austin
Cash!
Day. Let's go.
Let's go! Let's crack some fucking
perfect.
Steve
How fitting.
Weisers. Look at what you did there. Look at you.
Hey, full circle, dude. You know how I do it.
Just saying, bro. And then Bobby Chan says, Cash, do you think you're going to get those extra organs? I want to see you fight at 210. Oh, shit.
Okay, so I just figured out who Bobby Chan was. He's a good friend of mine. He's a very smart guy, and he's quite a character, if I'm going to be honest. And he came up with this idea for me so that I can go ahead and put on some more weight. He wanted me to get in contact with some scientists to develop a kidney liver combination that I can get implanted into my body, so that I'm able to process more protein, just so I can get absolutely jacked without having to take any PEDs. And to be honest, I think it might just be easier to go ahead and take some PEDs.
I mean, it's working for Gabby Garcia. So
absolutely, I just go over to Japan. It doesn't matter over there.
Go over to Japan. Hey, here. I hope I'm not breaking any hearts. For the last couple of years, Fedor Emelianenko has been signed to Bellator. Most of Fedor's fights have been on native casinos where there's no regulation. Just saying.
That's the dirty little secret of the business,
That's it.
But yeah, I need to go ahead and get on whatever Gabby Garcia's on, because she is an absolute specimen, dude.
Yeah,
it's
she is
crazy. And what is she, like 6'2"?
6'2".
Ridiculous.
She's a
monster.
She's a very nice human being. Scary as all shit, though, man.
Terrifying.
No, it was an amateur MMA show, and one of her teammates was fighting on the card. Right? She walks through the door, and it's a double door, and she's 3/4 of the fucking entryway, and she has to duck down. She's massive. She is a terrifying individual. I like to say that I'd pretty much fight anybody, but if Gabby Garcia came up to me and started talking shit, I might just apologize and turn around. Yeah. She is a scary, scary lady. Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, here you go. We got Amanda Nunes, the consensus, and if again, much like 316 and that promo that Austin cut, if you don't know that's one of the greatest of all time, if you don't know Amanda Nunes is one of the greatest of all time, I don't know what you're doing. She's got the name, she's got the title reigns, she's got both of the titles, 2 divisions, and going back and forth. She's the greatest of all time. But if she wants to collect one more name, right? I say you do UFC Saitama Super Arena, Gabby Garcia.
I'd pay big money to see that. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
I'd pay big money. What weight class are we talking though here? Because Gabby Garcia is huge. Are we just going to go ahead and go open weight? I think that's what we'd have to do.
Yeah, dude, like
open weight women's
Sakuraba.
champion.
Do a Minowa, like fucking 300-pound weight disadvantage and shit like that. Gabby Garcia's bicep is probably bigger than Amanda's head. But let's do it. Let's do it in Saitama Super Arena. Let's get Leon Hart. She's still doing stuff for Risen. So let's bring the Pride announcer in. Bruce Buffer, you take a night off, or you can call the whole card except for that one, and you do that. That's what you do.
Yep, let's do it in a ring with Pride rules. I want to see soccer kicks and knee to the heads.
Yes.
You know, I think I would. Man, we need to make that happen. I think that'd be a big money event.
Book it. Let's book it, Cash. I'm just saying. We're going to get on the
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get talking to my people and make that happen, I guess.
Yeah, damn right. You too. I will too. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to see Cash Jones making his debut. I already see him being a star. Like Lesnar, Shamrock, Severn. He's got that charisma and great amateur wrestling background.
Wow. Means a lot. Those are some great names to be put next to. So I really appreciate it. That means more than you know.
Well, you actually, and that I see that too. But then I also will say, you're almost like a non-mushroom Matt Riddle.
I have a funny story about Matt Riddle, actually. So
Please,
I was at Walmart, and I was walking to my car. I had just got done shopping, and this is COVID era, so everyone's got their masks on and everything. And this older fellow comes up and he says, "Hey, I know you." And I said, "Do you? Where do I know you from?" And he goes, "You're a wrestler, aren't you?" And I say, "As a matter of fact, I am a wrestler." How crazy. This is the first time that someone's ever come up to me and said that they've recognized me from my wrestling. I'm excited. I'm, smiling ear to ear. And he goes, "Matt, right?" And I go, no, not Matt." He goes, "You're Matt Riddle. I know you are. I know you're Matt Riddle." And then he goes, "Bro." And I was like, I'm going to be honest. I didn't want to hurt the old dude's feeling. I went ahead and went with it. So I was Matt Riddle for an afternoon. Yeah. So I'll take Matt Riddle. He's a cool guy. He's what is he? The Universal Champ now or something like that?
No. I mean, he's definitely had some runs with the NXT title. He's got the US title. I think Lashley's
the US title right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is Lashley.
Yeah. Which Lashley has had some MMA fights. He's undefeated.
Yes, he has.
See, and that's what I like. Most people they talk about like, it's so funny, right? So when I talk to pro wrestlers, right? Well, pro wrestling fans, a lot of them don't like MMA. I don't watch it, right? I'm talking about MMA fans. I don't like WWE stuff in my MMA, right? Cool, right? You talk to pro wrestlers. They love MMA. You talk to MMA fighters, they love pro wrestling. And it's just like the people that love the thing, though, that don't actually do the thing, they have this like consensus relationship. But like I've broken bread. Like literally, first time I saw Josh Barnett, all right? And I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome, Barnett and whatever." I ask him, "Hey, what was it like to train under Antonio Inoki?" He goes, and I think he's going to kill me. Like I've heard War Master stories. I'm like, holy shit, I just pissed off a War Master. And then he goes, "Nobody's ever asked me that." And then we fucking take a picture, and I'm like, shit, man. Like, so it's fun, right? And Josh Barnett been on the show, right? And we go an hour deep in the weeds of wrestling. Like, we could have talked about his career. Awesome. Every other podcast that he's been on talks about his career. Cool. We're talking wrestling.
Absolutely. I love talking wrestling. I don't get a chance to do it often enough. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm in the right place.
Hell yes, dude. I love it. And yes, Jack Swagger is fighting professionally. Yes,
yes, he is. I think he has 3 fights now.
3 fights. And funny enough, J.W. Kaiser, who is his opponent and one of the Bellators, has actually been on the show, talked about that.
Oh, how cool.
Deal, at length. So yeah, for those who want to scour the archives, you can hear J.W. Kaiser's deal of fighting. That was that fight that they were like, "Oh, they just got somebody from the truck stop and whatever." And it's like, no,
yeah.
You look at J.W. Kaiser's fucking record. He's got some fucking fights, man. Like,
yeah, okay. How about you go and fight him then? If he's this can that you say he is,
How about this? I'm not gonna. There's a reason why I'm behind this microphone. I'm pretty shit in jiu-jitsu. Good Lord, So
yeah, I'm a big Jack Swagger fan. I've been following him since he was Jake Hagar at OU.
Yeah.
So I've been watching him for a while. It's cool. It's cool to see what he's done with his career.
Yeah, and it's even cool because, like you said, like Jack Swagger or whatever, he's actually went right back to Jake Hager.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. He's with
AEW.
AEW right now. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
doing some cool stuff. I'm excited. I'm excited to see them blossom.
yeah. Well, you definitely don't want them to explode because that is something that they don't know because they sparkle. AEW
Yeah.
sparkles because when they promote a barbed wire exploding death match, all you're getting is sparkler. Just saying.
Hey, it's all smoke and mirrors, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Smoky mirrors, I love it. And flex with the hair flip. Damn. There you go. There you go. Now, question for Cash. Would you consider doing professional wrestling one day?
Absolutely, I'd love to. If there's any promoters out there right now looking for someone with absolutely zero experience, I'm your guy. So just go ahead and have your people get with my people, and we'll make something happen.
Oh, I got some percolating things. Cash Jones. We're going to get off air. And okay. Yes, this is awesome. Now, okay, so I love this because you're somebody that has the wrestling pedigree, right? That has striking experience, that has gone to Ryan Mossberg, one of the pinnacle and most efficient boxing coaches that there is in your area, right?
Yes, sir.
Covering 3 states, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're somebody that has that pedigree, can talk on the mic, is somebody that, hey, if you put him in an ad like Alan Joban is a professional fighter, but I mean, was a Gucci model. He still is a model, right? So, like, what drew you into MMA? Because you don't want to get that mug unmugged, right? So, like, what was it about MMA that kind of drew you in?
Well, I'm a pretty boy, but I like to scrap, and I don't see myself doing well in an office environment. And I think this is probably the best way for me to go ahead and make a living and hopefully be able to support my family. So hopefully I make enough money that I don't need this anymore, and I can just go ahead and live off my wallet instead of my looks.
So he's starting an OnlyFans, folks. So just so you know.
Yep. Go ahead and follow my OnlyFans.
Hey, it's worked out for a lot of UFC fighters. Like, name UFC fighters.
Yeah.
They're making more on that. I mean, when Paige Van Zandt said, "I'm making more on it," not even OnlyFans, Instagram.
No, she made her own. She made like her own like OnlyFans. Like that's how much. That's how
Yeah.
well she's doing. She went go ahead and made her own OnlyFans.
Oh, Valley Loretta, the Valley Loretta in Bellator, she's doing the same thing. Like, and it's not just her, like her sister too. It's just like, but that's the money. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go on the thing. No, I'm gonna create the thing. Like, I'm gonna create it. Like that's some stroke.
Yeah, Paige Van Zandt. I think she gets knocked a lot. I think a lot of people kind of overlook her, but what she's been able to do business wise and promotional wise for herself is almost unmatched. What she's been able to do is really respectable. So
Yes.
you know.
Oh, I love this idea. So shout out to SMR for putting this out there. Fight Sugar Sean.
I'll fight Sugar Sean right now. I'll fight if he wants to move up to welterweight, let's get it on, dude.
I love that. Yes.
Let's get it on.
Yes. I'm friends with Tyrion Flash Ware, right? Sugar Sean beat Tyrion Flash Ware, and now Tyrion Flash Ware is not in the UFC anymore, right? So I want one of my friends to avenge the loss of one of my other friends. That's what I'm doing. Obviously,
we're gonna have to meet somewhere. I don't think I'm making 135.
Yeah, I was like, there's 40 pounds that tell the tale of the tale. But if we can get it done, let's do it at St. Thomas Super Arena. All the Mexican supplements.
Yep, let's do it. Let's do it.
Love it. Yes.
Mexican supplements and American horsepower, baby. That's how I like it.
That's it. Cash Jones, future Hall of Famer.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
I'm even gonna, I love Nate Wren's comparisons, but I'm even gonna throw another one in here, man. Like,
let's hear it.
You remind me of a bit of Kurt Angle. Like, you're not
really.
This is your first podcast. I call balderdash. I call shenanigans on this shit because, like, you do this so well. Like, I'm like, fuck, man. Like, Cash Jones should have a podcast, and I'm subscribing to that shit. Like, you almost do it so effortlessly, and I hear stories of when Angle, was wrestling in Memphis when he had a developmental deal and he picked it up so easily. Ah, man, I'm just like, fuck, there's marketing opportunities is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we got a lot of things in the works, so just go ahead and stay tuned and see what happens. I think a lot of big things. I think it's going to be an interesting journey.
I agree. That man, I've got the goosebumps in thinking what the career trajectory could be, and it's all. I mean, you've worked so hard, up to this point, to get to a place where people are considering you for such things. So that is the mark, And again, I was there for Tito Chuck 3, the weigh-ins. It wasn't pretty for those guys to not be able to capitalize. You can make an argument. There would be no UFC. I know everybody talks about the Ultimate Fighter and what have you, but to kind of harness that, the feud of Tito and Chuck, that's what drew the UFC some of the biggest pay-per-view buy rates of all time up to that point, right? And if those two guys couldn't figure out a way to capitalize on their fame post-fight, then what the hell are we all doing?
And to take it back even a step further, also a Tito Ortiz fight with Ken Shamrock. UFC was hurting real bad for some money, and then Ken Shamrock comes over, brings whatever exposure he got in the, I think it was the WWF at the time, and pretty much saved the organization. So somehow Tito Ortiz, not being able to talk and being not too exciting of a fighter, was able to go ahead and save the promotion 2 times. So he's a little bit of a goober, but you got to give him respect for what he's done.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like, yes, I can't agree with you. He can be a bit of a goober, but like, here's a cool moment for me. So, and it's a Tito Ortiz deal. I remember being of a certain age, and I grew up in Inglewood, California. And where Inglewood was because the Forum, the fabulous Forum that used to be, that used to hold and showcase the Lakers and the Kings before they moved to the Staples Center. Well, that was their home arena. That was where Magic Johnson and all those greats played. Wayne Gretzky played, right? So that was my home arena. That was like literally like maybe 3 miles on the same route as my high school, right? So I have my high school commencement ceremony at the Forum, right? But prior to me graduating from high school, I went to a Limp Bizkit concert. Yes, I like Limp Bizkit.
Shout out Fred Durst.
Yes. Which I'm glad you said that, because that night Tito Ortiz was there after he won the light heavyweight title, right?
That doesn't surprise me.
Right. And Fred Durst shouted him out. It was like it wasn't even a fart in church would get more recognition than Tito Ortiz did in 99 at a Limp Bizkit concert, right? So here we go, almost 10 to 15 years later. So I'm there covering the weigh-ins for Tito Chuck 3, and I'm standing with Tito, and I was like, "Hey, do you remember this like Limp Bizkit concert that happened, whatever?" And he was like, "Yeah." It's like, "You remember the reaction that you had that night?" It's like, "Yeah, nobody did a damn thing. They didn't know who I was." And I was like, "I was up there," and then even cooler, I graduated and had my high school graduation ceremony like right here. And we're standing here, and he's like, "That's what dreams are made of. You've done the hard work to get here." And I was like, "You too. Fucking go kick." I can't even believe it. I was like, "Go kick Chuck's ass." Like, what the fuck did that come from? And I love Chuck Liddell, but and it's moments like that, right, where you could make your heroes your contemporaries, right? And that's something that you're gonna do, right? And the fact that, again, it's not like you're just relying on your wrestling, right? Your wrestling prowess, which you can. I mean, work for Dan Severn, but it was a different time in a different era. Right?
Absolutely.
Where now you have to be a well-rounded fighter. And that's not just well-rounded in terms of your fighting acumen, but that's also in terms of your marketability. How well you could do in front of when Brogan is interviewing you, you've got 15 seconds on a worldwide pay-per-view audience. What do? Do you ham up? Or do you fucking take it and run with it, right? That's one of the reasons why I do this is, like, oh, you interviewed big names. You amateur fighters too. I'm like, yeah, because the thing about it is, I've seen some of my friends, I've seen some of my heroes that fight on regional scenes with professional wrestling, MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and what have you, right? And they get to that big show where they could earn big money, more money than they ever earned fighting in their life, in their career.
Mhm.
And that red light goes on, and they can't connect. And there's a
Mhm.
missed opportunity, right? Of you being able to connect to fans that will support you in an era where you can't get sponsorships and wear them into the UFC, right?
Right.
You could retain them in every other organization, regional, amateur, and pro, except for the UFC because of the Reebok now Venom deal, right?
Mhm.
Well, you miss an opportunity where you could cash in, right? And it's a missed opportunity. So just like your coaches train you guys and girls for the sport of kings and queens, well, I going to do this and make it. If you're not comfortable, fuck it. You're gonna be comfortable after an hour, right? And
Yeah.
if not for that, like if you're comfortable, like you are, well, let's showcase that. Let's highlight that. I love the fact that we went everywhere. Your deal, pro wrestling, MMA, and you can talk about it. Oh, that's marketability, bro.
I appreciate it, man. It's absolutely a spectacular opportunity to be on here, so I really appreciate it.
Nah, the pleasure's all mine. And Vice Monarch says, I'm this dude's best friend. Shout out to you, buddy.
What's up, Vice Monarch? Go ahead and look him up on Spotify and SoundCloud. He's got some good music.
All right. No, I love it. I love it. I need to kind of diversify just my Spotify account because it's really just a Rogan. I need to add some more shit. So Vice Monarch is what I'm gonna do. Just saying.
Yes, sir. That's my man.
Shout out. Now, in terms of like what your motivating factors is, because you talked about providing for your family and everything, but there's times when it's not so peachy keen, right?
Mhm.
It's hard, you know, whether it be weight cutting, training, and there's not a lot of fights happening, right? How do you keep your motivation up?
Well, I'm gonna start this by going back into why I left wrestling,
Mhm.
and so when I was younger, I played football and whatever, just like everybody else, but it didn't excite me. It didn't fire up the competitive nature of me, and I think it's because the stakes weren't high enough. And so wrestling, you're out there by yourself, and you lose. It's not the other team didn't just score an extra touchdown on you or something like that. Like you lost because that guy was able to take you and do whatever he wanted to with you, and you really you couldn't have a say about it. So it's a lot more personal. And as I progressed in my wrestling career, the stakes felt less and less high, and it kind of became a job to me, and I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. So excuse me, I make the transition to MMA, and the stakes couldn't get any higher. You lose, you're not just getting scored on, you're not just getting pinned. You might get your face kicked by a bare shin. Michael Bisping, you might lose an eye.
Mm-hmm.
The stakes are high. So whenever I'm training and I don't feel like training that day, or maybe I want to take a rep off, or if I'm in the gym and I want to take some weight off or whatever, I just remember there's someone out there training to hurt me bad, and that just, the stakes keep me fired up. I guess I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I'm kind of a knockabout guy, and I like the high stakes. I like the risk. It's just it's a reason for me to get up in the morning and attack the day, I guess.
That's fucking awesome, man. And in many ways, you're fighting yourself, right? You're fighting
Absolutely,
yourself.
yeah. Every single practice session, it's just, it doesn't matter what your partner's doing. It doesn't matter what your opponent doing. Did you get better that day? Did you improve what you needed to work on? Did you go into practice with a plan, or did you go in there and just waste 2 hours? You go in there and lollygag around, and I think that is actually a big thing people don't think about when people come in from other disciplines, say wrestling, for example. They come in, or really any sport. people who come into MMA and make that transition, who are a high level athlete in another sport, yeah, they're going to have skills from that other sport, this and that, the competition experience. But more so than that, they know how to get good at something. And that's something that's hard to learn. Going into practice with a plan, going in there with something that you need to work on, and just kind of being OCD about it. And if I do something wrong in practice and I can't get it right, it's going to bother me until I get it right. So I think that's probably the biggest advantage that I've gotten from coming over from being a high level wrestler, is just knowing how to take myself to the next level.
I love it. And Nate Wren says his hairstyle reminds me of a young Brian Kendrick and Brian Pillman. Holy shit.
I'm loving these comparisons, dude. You guys are pumping up my ego. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but then you're going to do some sprawls and everything and forget everything. So we're good,
Yep.
Yeah. But this is what we should do for each other, especially as tumultuous and heinous as last year was for a lot of people. A lot of people lost jobs. A lot of people lost, family members, income, all of it. There was a lot of loss, right? So that's why, we need to kind of pump each other up. And it doesn't matter if you're in Arkansas and California. We need to reach out to each other. Right. And there's even times when you don't feel like a fucking champ. Those are the times where you kind of realize, it's awesome when you're doing well and everything like that and people want to come to you. But then when it all goes and you really fucking need somebody,
Yeah,
it gets
the lows
weird.
are when you figure out who's really with you and who's actually behind you. So they suck, but they're necessary. It's just a reality check is all they are. Lows will pass. Just got to keep trucking. Put your head down. Keep trucking.
No, 1,000%. They're gonna call Cash the Dream Killer Jones because fighting him is his opponent's dreams fucking going out the window. UFC will die when Jones demolishes him.
That's pretty cool. I like that. The Dream Killer. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
I'm just saying. I would throw Patton on there. That's some t-shirt sales right there.
Absolutely.
Nate Wren wants to know, how many matches did you win by pin in your high school career?
I wish I could give you an exact number. I had over 200 wins. I think I had 216 wins in high school, and I'd be willing to say that probably about 80% of my wins I won by pin, and probably about 95% I won by bonus points, so either major or a tech fall. So.
That's pretty damn impressive, And for those who don't know, apparently Nate Wren, if you text that number, you'll get your payment now. So, Matthew Baker as well. So just so you guys know, that may or may not be a bot. Just saying, but
you won't know till you text them. So go ahead.
Hey, you know what?
Go ahead and write that number down.
All of those, the 23andMe deals and whatever, you might figure out that you have a, African descendant that is a prince, and all you have to do is give them your checking account number, and you're good. You're in like Flint, right?
Yeah, you never know when you're going to be related to a Nigerian prince.
Yes. Why are they all from Nigeria, though? Right.
Hey, beats me, man. Beats me.
Well, you know why? They wouldn't be from Uganda because Kamala, the Ugandan giant, is from there, and I don't think he's a prince.
I'm not sure what he is, but that man is a legend in his own right.
Yes. There we go.
The big stars and the moons on his chest.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Too cool. Too cool.
Yeah. So it obviously 2020 was pretty tumultuous, but were you looking to get a fight in 2020, or was it what was the year looking like for you, Cash Jones?
So at the beginning of 2020 is when I decided it was time for me to move on from wrestling. Mm-hmm. So right about the time that COVID actually started, so about March, I left Little Rock, and that's when I started working with Ryan. And me and him sat down, and we said, we're gonna put the work in this year. We're gonna work on what we need to work on, and come a year's time, I knew I was going to be ready, and I knew that it was going to be time for me to take a fight. So for the past year, it's just my mind's been on April. Just ready to. I'm so ready to get in there. I'm chomping at the bits every single morning. I wake up and it's just, a day closer. I'm ready to go.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And you can't teach that. You really can't, and that separates the people that are about that life and the people that might just post about that life on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're a fighter and then the first thing you're waking up thinking about is, oh, I think I'm going to go drink some beer with my buddies this weekend, this and that, you're in the wrong sport. It's just the stakes are too high. Because there's guys who are waking up every single morning thinking about taking your head off. And I'm one of those guys, So
Yeah. Which I love it, and you, in many ways you were built for this, so I love it. Which Vice Monarch wants to know, what do you think about the current state of the welterweight division in the UFC?
Well, I think there is some very elite talent in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, I think that the welterweight division is a little weaker than it has been in the past. If we look back in history, the welterweight really started to kick off. We had Matt Hughes, GSP,
Yes,
Carlos Newton, all those guys,
Yes.
just absolute studs from back in the day. Then we move forward a little bit. We get out of the GSP era, and we got Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald. They put the crazy fights that they put on. So right now, I think it's in a little bit of a lull. I don't think it's the weakest division in the UFC by far, but I would like to see a little bit more out of it. I'd like to see a little bit more talent and a little bit more excitement. It's the upper levels dominated by wrestlers, and thankfully the wrestlers that can put on exciting fights. But I can see why the fans are a little hesitant to adopt them like they do a lot of the other guys. So. But I think there will be a resurgence in the welterweight division here very soon.
I agree. I do concur. Which what's fun, right? Where I can almost pinpoint the day the welterweight division died. I was there, T-Mobile Arena.
Let me
UFC 209. UFC 209. Woodley versus Thompson. Wonderboy Thompson.
Yeah.
Chorus of boos or do something. Again, this is T-Mobile Arena, damn near 20,000 people booing in unison, especially after you saw fights like Darren Elkins and Mirsad Bektik, where Elkins was getting, he looked like somebody took a meat tenderizer to his face and just did that. That's what Bektik did. And then how again, I might have been in the cheapies, right? And to see Elkins knock out Bektik and yell out that
the damage,
scream,
baby.
Yes. Like, fuck, man. There was just so after that, and then that's your title fight. And again, we were supposed to have one of the ill-fated Tony Ferguson Habib matchups on that card, and that was one of the many cancellations that fight underwent. But yeah, that to me, for my money, that is when it died. That's when the interest waned.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate thought. Yeah, I really haven't put much thought into it when the welterweight division did die, but the dominance of Tyron Woodley for when he was on top, I think, probably definitely hurt the division a lot. Especially like the Damian Maia fight where there was like how many 40 takedown attempts or something like that, and as a fight fan, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but damn, that was a boring fight. A lot of people say, wow, it's so amazing he defended all those takedowns. Like, who cares? He didn't do anything. It was such a boring fight. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. Tyron Woodley is a spectacular athlete. He's a specimen of a human, but yeah, he does have a knack for putting on some very, very long, boring fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And also boring promos too. So you don't win. Like, you don't win being my favorite. If you go to your friends and go like, my favorite fighter is Tyron Woodley, they're like, why? Like, he's not exciting as a fighter. He's not a exciting promo guy. What is it there? And then he will do. At the time where he's champ, he was, getting in fights with Dana, which some of it is justified, right? But if you're the champion and then prove him wrong. Prove him
Yeah.
wrong that you're not a draw. Like you say, and same thing with like almost Mighty Mouse. But then Mighty Mouse, the way where he ended up at one, completely amazing. I mean, he's fighting for the
Absolutely.
one flyweight title, which would make him arguably the most decorated flyweight of all time, right? But yeah, like I mean, Mighty Mouse is legit making more money on One Championship's Twitch channel than he ever did
Yeah.
fighting.
He's
So,
perfect. He's so perfect for the Asian market. I think he's definitely in the place where he needs to be right now.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Vice Monarch says, "Shut up, Vice." I mean, Matt Baker says, "Shut up, Vice. I'm dude's best friend." And Vice Monarch says, "Matt Baker's real name is Noah Wells." Ooh.
It is. It is. We're out here exposing people.
Oh God.
I don't know why Noah Wells is out here using a pseudonym. It's a little sketchy, but
Like
what are you gonna do?
They fucking went full shoot interview. Like,
They're
I'm
over here
having-
duking it out in the comments.
yeah, I'm half expecting them to go like, "I break your back, make you humble." There's another part. I won't say that though.
They're in the same room right now doing this. So
There you go. And Nathan wants to know, Cash Jones says he's an adrenaline junkie. What is the most dangerous or extreme thing he's ever done?
That is a tough one. Nothing. I mean, kind of boring, so nothing too crazy. It's not like I'm getting shot at or jumping out of planes, but I don't know. It's just the rush of getting out there and competing. That's my thing. I enjoy skateboarding and I like fast cars and fast women. So, that's where I get my kicks.
Hey, literally 70% of AC/DC's music catalog are about exactly what you're saying, living the lifestyle that you did. And I'd even put Motorhead in there too. So, I mean, Motorhead, duh. So,
Rest in peace, Lemmy.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, Ace of Spades. I love it. Now, let's see. We've got a couple more. Yes, I've choked Matt Baker out before.
I don't know what's going on.
And
Whatever
then-
they're doing.
Yes. Why didn't Tyrone beat Lawler in like 2 seconds via TKO?
Wait, did he? I can't remember that fight.
I can't remember. So maybe it's like PTSD. After the UFC 209 deal, I cannot remember.
Block the welterweight division out of your head.
All Tyron Woodley fights. Even, I mean, he was doing some awesome shit in Strikeforce. I can't remember pre 209. Cannot. Yeah. Me and Vice challenging each other physically daily to be given the title of Cash TT Jones' best friend.
You guys are wild. These guys are wild.
I'm loving it. Yeah. And Night Rand said, "I'm sitting back reading these comments and I'm entertained." No, fuck yeah. I love you. Shout out. Duke it out, folks. Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
I've got a podcast. If you guys want to fucking do a face-off, dude, I'm in. Fuck.
Yeah, let's make that happen. We need to get that lined up.
You want to?
Let's get contracts, guys.
Yo, let's do this. Cash, you and me, Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, whichever one you want to be, for Matt and Vice here. And fuck it, let's do this.
Let's do it.
I'm just saying. Yes. And Adam and Cash bringing all the sketchy people today, which they count as views. So, you know what? This is going on the algorithm. So I think we're doing okay.
I'll take what I can get. I'll take all of it.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
So I got it. How did you find Ryan Mossberg?
Well, it was at the Honey Badger Wrestling Academy, which is in Bentonville, Arkansas. Shout out to Preston and Billy Talley, the guys keeping down the ship over there. Those are guys who have been with me literally since I was a little kid, about 10 years old. So I was there, and I was at a high school wrestling practice, and Ryan Mossberg is there doing his thing with TJ Britton, which shout out TJ Britton. He's got a fight coming up this weekend in Joplin, Missouri. So if you're local, you guys definitely need to go catch that. That's definitely some must watch event. But I was in the room, I was practicing, doing my thing, and just hearing the pads going, and I was looking over, I was like, man, I need to get in on some of that. because this was 2016, so this is right at the peak of Conor McGregor's fame, and right after Cody Garbrandt beat the shit out of Dominic Cruz. So
Yeah.
This was at this time I was 16. I was like, that is what I want to do. You know, those guys, they're doing it. They're super cool, making money. And it was just a perfect storm of events. I go over, I talk to him, I tell him, hey man, I want to be a fighter when I'm done wrestling. And I think, you know, like every coach, when they hear that, they're like, okay, you know, whatever. But I kept pestering, kept coming back, and so he was the first person that I contacted when I left Little Rock. I said, Ryan, hey, I'm coming up to Northwest Arkansas, and we need to get this show on the road. I want to get in the cage, so let's work something out. And that's my man. You know, they say the devil works hard, but I know for a fact that Ryan Mossberg is working harder. That dude's always got something going on. He's always driving from town to town, doing his thing, always
State
working with great fighters. Yeah, Ryan is a road warrior, man. He's really out there moving. So shout out to Ryan Mossberg.
Yeah, which I mean, in your training, because obviously, you know, it's cool to see, right? Because, you know, when you're wrestling, there is some people that you could look up to, but like now you've got like legit, like, okay, if I do these things, I could potentially get into that same conversation, same sport, and what have you, right? So you already had a lot of cool stuff in terms of pedigree, but what was you training with Ryan like? I mean, what did you learn about yourself through that training, which is completely different, night and day difference than what you did in wrestling?
Well, first I learned that I did not nearly have the hands that I thought I did. I think like everybody who watches fighting, they're like, you know what, I'll knock out anybody. I got hands, you know. But okay, get in there and hit the mitts, and we'll see. We'll see how good you can actually stand up and bang. So first I learned that my boxing had a long ways to go. I also learned that while I still think that wrestling is probably the most taxing combat sport, the cardio from wrestling maybe doesn't necessarily translate itself as great to striking. So I learned that there's a huge difference in the type of stamina that you need to have. And, you know, me and Ryan get along really well. We're super close. So it's just a great relationship. And he's someone who's down for me. I'd say right now he's my head coach and acting manager. So he's really out there, you know, getting my name out there and getting me the opportunities that he thinks I deserve. So a lot of appreciation for that guy.
I love it. I love it. Yes, and Vice says, I'm genuinely afraid for Cash's next opponent, as am I. To which Nate Wren says, don't go choking out bears or riding bulls. You have a lot of great things coming up in your near future. No, 100%. And that's something. So Nate Wren, right, is a reporter for boxing. He's interviewed many a big name, right? Right? And he himself took a fight in Mexico during like COVID, and he knocked the motherfucker out, right?
Hell
and
yeah.
Nate Wren just got into, I didn't know there was like a circuit or whatever, but amateur bull riding, which he's done twice already. Holy shit, man. I swear.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought wrestlers were the toughest athletes out there. You know, they go through the most injuries and this and that. Not even close. It's not even a competition. Those guys who are out there riding bulls, for one, are absolute maniacs, and two, the toll that it takes on their body is tremendous. And I don't think that it gets talked about enough. Those guys are literally getting stepped on by like cars, basically. Like they're basically like they're getting ran over. Just like, it's insane. Anyone who participates in rodeos, hats off to you. You're a crazy MFer. You know, keep doing you. We gotta have guys like you in today's age. You know, just some crazy bastards.
Hell, I saw a Vice like kind of a YouTube thing that like there was even not just like the rodeo like riders, but there's like the rodeo clowns that try to thwart them from whatever. And there's female rodeo clowns. That's even wilder.
How do you even get into that position to where you're doing that job? Like, when do you wake up and decide, you know what, I think I want to keep bulls from murdering people. I think I want to run around and try and get a bull to chase me, because I've never had any sort of thought like that cross through my mind, not even once.
Yeah, yeah. But Nate Wren, that guy, fucking A.
Nate Wren, the real deal. Happy to have
Real
you,
deal.
brother.
Yes, and yeah. So, and we're getting confirmations. Vice Monarch says I'm here for it, and Matt Baker says let's do it. So yeah, we're gonna have Vice versus Matt with Cash and I moderating some sort of contract signing. There's got to be some big stakes. We're gonna if you are excited about the John Moxley versus Kenny Omega exploding barbed wire death match, and we're disappointed that all you got was fucking sparklers. Nope, that's not happening here. The complete and polar opposite, because you're going to see fireworks. Not literal, figuratively, but we're going to produce figurative fireworks. That I can guarantee.
Yes, sir. You got to be a showman. You got to give the people what they want.
I'm just saying, yes. And I says Teeman early. Sorry. So shout out to you, Teeman. I. There we go. I got it. Last A. And I'm going to be the hype man for that fight card. Yes. So
I love it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Let's do this. All right. Now, obviously, Cash, there have been a lot of people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you, not just as a fighter, not just as a wrestler, but as a human being, to help you to get to where you are now. So take as long as you need. Let's get some shout outs out the way, my man.
All right. So you got to start. I haven't mentioned my dad yet in this podcast. So I got to give a shout out to you. Thank you for having me slam medicine balls throughout my whole childhood. Getting me ready for training to punch people in the face. I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for the support. I got to give a big shout out to my youth wrestling coach, Billy Talley. He always supported me and let me be me, which was something that not a lot of people are willing to do, especially in wrestling, where it's a little bit more of a traditional circle and personalities maybe aren't so common in that sport. Let's see who else. We got to give a shout out to TJ Britton. He's done a lot to help me out, especially recently. Not only is he a great fighter, he's a great dude. He's been around the block. He's a dude who knows how to manage his not only his image, but knows how to manage his wallet. So there's a lot of things you can learn from a guy like that. And, having a veteran around like that is huge. I want to give a shout out to my jiu-jitsu coach, Daniel Williams, the big bastard. He's 6'9", he just got his black belt a couple months ago. He's out here killing it. He's got a match coming up this weekend. So shout out to my man, Daniel. He's probably coaching a class right now, but
yeah. Oh, I shot him a DM. I'm working on him getting on the show.
Yeah, you need to. He'll be a good guy to talk to. He's been all around the world choking dudes out, so I'm sure he has some crazy stories to tell.
Hopefully, the statutes of limitations are in effect. That he doesn't get a rap for any of that shit.
Right.
Yeah, when people put on social media, room full of killers, I go, no. But the thing about it is we live in a world where the war machine shit, the fucking like you just said, old dude, the Korean dude in the early UFCs that was the henchman in the Austin Powers, whatever.
Yeah.
He literally Sheena Star, one of the most lopsided records in UFC I mean, not BKFC and MMA history. She did a hit and run and killed a guy.
Lee Murray over there who did the biggest bank heist in all of Europe history. That dude has UFC fight too. Yeah, sport has a lot of characters. I guess that's what you get when you lock two bad motherfuckers in a cage. You're gonna get some crazy dudes stepping in there. Yeah,
but then when I see those posts room full of killers, I'm like, no, don't do that, because that's what they think we are anyway.
Yeah.
I want to say room full of what was it, the kinesthesiology engineers. That's what I want to see. I know it doesn't pop as
room
well.
Full of martial artists.
Yes. Well, not because even that too, because you got the motherfuckers that like the McDojos of the world that fucking bam and fucking fly 300 feet and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, like also not that, but somewhere in the middle. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird group of people who I don't think have been able to define themselves yet.
I'm just saying, but I mean, a new breed here with Cass Jones, which, yes, and Ming would beat them all. Yep. The match that never happened that I really wanted to see, because those are in terms of like the most badasses in professional wrestling history, usually it's Ming and Harley Race. Like, they were, when Ming was in WCW, Harley was managing Vader, right? And then when they were both in the WWF, that's when Harley takes the flare. The bump over the top rope and the table spot. Do you know that story?
I don't think I'm familiar, but go ahead, keep going.
So basically, Harley Race was wrestling Hulk Hogan as King Harley Race on WWF Saturday Night Main Event. I want to say that was, yes. And he takes this fucking table spot, right? And he has Hogan on the table, and he does the patented, the cross body block from the top, but from inside the ring out to the floor with Hogan prone, and Hogan moves out the way. The table wasn't gimmicked, so that aluminum metal edging around those tables, what punctures fucking Harley. And I think it serrated one of his kidneys.
Eesh. Yeah, those guys talk about taking a toll on your body. They do not get enough credit. People say it's fake, but it's hard to fake jumping off a top rope.
Yeah, absolutely. And DJ Yannick says, "Hello again, Courtney Woods. I'm going to bed. Just wanted to say good night. Good night, good sir.
Good night, awesome partner. Appreciate you tuning in.
Absolutely. And last but definitely not least is Mr. Cash, Team NWO or Team DX. Also, are you Team Hogan or Team Warrior?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely Team NWO. Hard to beat the Razor Ramon, Hogan era. It's just they're great. They did it before DX. I don't know how you could say that you like DX over NWO when NWO, they created that whole invasion thing, taking over the company, and Hogan and Warrior, I'm gonna go Ultimate Warrior every single day of the week.
All right. I like it. Now, not that anybody's asking, but I'm going to introduce option 3. All right.
All right, let me hear it.
So, Team Hart Foundation. All right. Because how do you get Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, British Bulldog, and Brian Pillman in one faction?
Yeah.
You take that to New Japan, any era of New Japan, that wins. WWF, WCW, AWA with Vern Gagne. Tell me when that faction with that group of guys doesn't get over.
I cannot think of, because not only did those guys have the look that a professional wrestler, in my opinion, should have, they had the in-ring skill, which is something that is lacking a lot, especially in today's era. Lots of guys who don't have the mat work that those guys did. So shout out to Stu Hart for continuing on that style.
Yes.
I would love to see a Hart Foundation and then vintage Bullet Club feud. I think.
Ooh, with Balor and
yeah. Yes. I'm talking. So right after Kenny Omega is leaving the he had, what was his partner, the Fantastic Lovers or something like that.
He's the current champ for the IWGP.
Yeah. Yes.
Fuck, what's his name? And he did the cruiserweight. God, I'm blanking on his name.
But Fantastic Talent. The Golden Lovers.
Golden Lovers. Yeah.
So Kenny Omega, right after, right at the end of that storyline where Kenny Omega had to do his backstabbing stuff, and he just couldn't make it happen without the Bullet Club. So he does a big old heel turn. I think that era Bullet Club, prime era Hart Foundation, that's something I'd like to see. So if anyone wants to recreate that, go ahead. I'm all here for it.
I'm in. And Nate Uren says, "Hey, how could you not list the Four Horsemen?" I can tell you.
Oh,
No, I can tell you why I didn't.
let me hear
Paul Roma. Okay? Paul
Okay.
Roma. Paul Roma.
It's hard to neglect the Four Horsemen era.
Okay.
It's like in WCCW when
or WCW, because WCC is Von Erichs.
that was the Sugar Bowl when they were in Dallas. So the Von Erichs and Four Horsemen feud. Are you kidding me? That's must see television. I still go back and watch them every now and again.
Yes. Okay. So here's the deal, and this is one of the reasons why, like in terms of podcasting and shit, it's cool because you got Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson is my favorite wrestling podcast there is. Right? He's been everywhere. Mm-hmm. He created the Four Horsemen. He's the one who did the fucking promo. You know, the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse, all that shit. He was an Anderson. You remember Ric Flair was a Anderson cousin, right? Of the Minnesota, and that was Ole and Gene Anderson, right? Like way before Arn. Right, but the reason why I don't say, and I love Tully, that fucking slingshot suplex, that's the spot. Everybody's doing like a million super kicks in a match. Fuck, do the slingshot suplex. That's the fucking move. That's legit as fuck, right? And so Arn will probably tell you it wouldn't happen, right? But on Arn Anderson world title reign, just saying. And where it would happen for me is when Ron Simmons beats Vader for the WCW World Title, and I think maybe only when Tully and Arn were maybe finishing out of the WWF, they might not have been around the same period, but that would be like if anybody's gonna beat Ron Simmons, it's Arn Anderson, and he beats him with a spine buster. And fucking tell me. The Spine Buster is like, so Arn Anderson created both the Gourd Buster and the Spine Buster. Tell me why Arn Anderson's Spine Buster is the best. He has a torque, like his body type, like below the waist. He's almost got like the Matt Hardy, right? You notice when Matt Hardy fucking does the leg drop, and his legs are almost like a wishbone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, like boat-legged, whatever you call that deal or whatever. But Arn Anderson has the same deal, right? And because of that, he the torque that he gets in his spine buster, hell, even the one that he threw, which on the grade of spine busters might not be the greatest, but like WrestleMania 18 and fucking spine busting, Taker in the Ric Flair match, Taker versus Flair, he still gets it. He still fucking gets it. And the pop on that fucking crowd, whoo, buddy.
Yeah, there's definitely certain guys that they're made for pro wrestling. You know, they just have it down. Certain guys they don't, but some guys they can just hit the moves in such a way that it's just art. You know, it looks amazing.
Yes,
it's a dance. It's really a dance. You know.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, Matt Baker says Kota Ibushi.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's a good brother there. And most of today's wrestlers look like your average Target employees.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to lie. I want my pro wrestlers 250 pounds peeled. I want them ripped. You know, I don't care what they're taking. So WWE, go ahead and disregard that wellness policy because we want to see some studs back in there. Let's get some meat back in that ring.
I'm just saying. So you want a Sean Stasiak return? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, let's get some monsters in there. I want to see some absolute studs.
You said meat. You remember like Stan the Man Stasiak was the one who beat. I want to say he beat Bruno. I
believe he was the one that Kurt Angle debuted in the WWE against.
Right, it was Sean Stasiak, right? But you remember when he was with PMS, the Pretty Mean Sisters, Jackie and Terry Runnels? He was meat. I
don't think I recall. Meat.
He was meat. Huh? So when he was like,
that's a fitting name.
I was like, You want Sean Stasiak to return, is what you're saying.
Hey, I'm not opposed to it. Let's contact Sean Stasiak and get him back out there.
Oh, he's a chiropractor out there in Florida. It's like,
Really?
yeah, he's Dr. Sean Stasiak, which is crazy.
I would not want someone that big twisting on my neck like that. That's terrifying.
Yeah, old country style, like Eastern European. Let's go. Fuck yeah, man. And according to Woods, officially a subscriber, very entertaining. I appreciate that. And I will subscribe to your channel. This is reciprocal. But, I mean, not just this one. There's some fun shit in the archives. You want some Josh Barnett? You want everybody that was on the last couple Josh Barnett Bloodsport? There's there. They're in there. So, go ahead. You'll have a field day. So, just saying. But thank you for the subscription. And, yes, Steve Mongo McMichael is why we don't do Four Horsemen. He knows. Fucking twiddle toes. Oh my god. Like, I didn't think they were that bad. I didn't think he was that bad. And then watching like WrestleBotch on Instagram and shit like that, like, oh no. He gets slammed and he still runs. Like him and Kelvin Sullivan like wrestled on Nitro. And poor Uncle Kevin, my goodness, even the Taskmaster couldn't take Mongo up to task. It's fucked. It's fucked. Just saying.
Yeah, as much as I love the beauty of pro wrestling, a nice botch here and there really makes my day.
Yes, I agree. Shout out to Mafia and Botchamania. Botchamania is the shit, you know?
Absolutely.
Cash, you're killing it. Absolutely. I love it.
Appreciate it.
And remember when Ric Flair was the president of the WCW? I'd like to forget. So they buried him.
Really?
Yes. Oh, and it's just the best of times. I still think it's a great injustice. David Flair never got to be WCW World Champion, but they gave it to David Arquette. I get the theory. I totally get it. But also David Flair wasn't in Scream and married to Courtney Cox from Friends. So just saying. And also in Ready to Rumble, the WCW produced movie. So there you go. Yes. Mm-hmm. And kill.
Love it.
Yes.
Short
Unless
and
you're
sweet.
vegan. Unless we're going to fucking murder the shit out of iceberg lettuce. Yes. And yes. And then Diamond State Martial Arts says, Cash, I just figured out the comments. You're killing it. Shout out
my
to
guys.
Yes. Figuring out.
Shout out to Diamond State Martial Arts.
Damn right. Hell yes. Now, obviously, we got some shout outs out of the way. We got some wrestling out of the way and career trajectory stuff out of the way. So, Cash, it's been great to have you here. This is an honor and a privilege. I started off the show, but it absolutely is. Can't wait to see what you do in your career going forward. Now, for those who want to see you rise to what you are meant to be, all intents and purposes, where can they find you on social media, my man?
All right. Well, I'm most active on Instagram at Jash Cones. I also have a Twitter, but I've taken a break from Twitter over this last year. I just, needed to take some time to not dwell in the cesspool that is Twitter. So I'll be getting back into that soon. So Jash Cones on all social media. Go ahead and look me up. I like to interact with my fans and everything. So I'd love for you guys to look me up, give me a like, give me a follow, whatever you want to do.
You're damn right. I followed him, and on Twitter too. So that's when you get out of the doldrums of the Twitter, you'll get a dang follow from According to Woods here. So I'm just saying. So go ahead and follow him. And if you guys are in the mood of following and subscribing and all that jazz, I warmly encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to According to Woods on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Our good brother Vice Monarch did, so be like Vice Monarch. And Cash, you're subscribed, right?
Absolutely.
Damn right. So be like Vice, be like Cash. Hey, be like me, because it's not nepotism if I want me to succeed, right? So
it doesn't cost nothing to show love.
I'm just saying. So go ahead
and
do it.
Doesn't cost anything to drop a like.
Exactly. But if you don't believe our words or it, and I don't know why you wouldn't, well, here's another wrestler, Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to